After discovering that Jeremy was cheating, I didn't cry or make a scene. Instead, I put on the necklace he had bought for someone else, fastened it around my own neck, took a photo, and sent it to him. "Thank you, honey, I've received the New Year's surprise." So what if he cheated? I'm so broad-minded that I can spread my arms wide and allow everything to slip away from my side. Love. Sure. Men. Fine. But there's one thing I won't let go of. Money. Absolutely not. Chapter 1. I had actually discovered Jeremy's cheating a long time ago. It started the day I found a small balloon wrapper in the front passenger seat. It was lying right at my feet, as if it had been deliberately placed there, waiting for me to notice it. What did I do at the time? While he wasn't paying attention, I quickly picked up the wrapper and clenched it tightly in my hand. When we got out of the car, I secretly took it with me and threw it away. Only after doing all that did I finally let out a long breath. I had almost caused a scene that would have embarrassed everyone. Honestly, what a headache. If you're going to cheat, at least clean up properly. Was I out of my mind? Of course not. In the past, I would have slapped him across the face without hesitation, then run home to my parents, crying and demanding a divorce. But things are different now. I have to tuck away my raised foxtail and hide my true colors, because I'm a fake heiress, and the real heiress only appeared 2 years after our marriage. Jeremy marrying me was his loss, so I had already adjusted my mindset. I open my arms and allow everything to slip through my fingers. Everything. That is, except money. So, when I found that diamond necklace in Jeremy's study, my first thought wasn't, how dare he give something so expensive to that little homewrecker? Instead, it was, wow, my husband really loves me. He even prepared a surprise. I smugly put the necklace around my neck. Then I took a photo and sent it to Jeremy. "I've received the New Year's surprise. Thank you, honey." Even though I knew perfectly well that the faintly engraved letter W at the end of the necklace wasn't meant for me. But then again, who says it can't stand for wife? Chapter 2. When Jeremy came back that evening, his gaze naturally fell on my bare neck, framed by my off-the-shoulder dress. Haha, the huge diamond was sparkling brilliantly right there on my neck. Maybe it was shining too brightly and hurting his eyes, because I could see the muscles around his eyes tense slightly. But who is Jeremy Gonzalez? The man in control of the Gonzalez group. What kind of storms hasn't he weathered? He smiled, pulled me into his arms, and asked, "Do you like it?" Nestled against his chest, I pretended to sound picky while secretly laughing to myself. Of course. A low chuckle rumbled in Jeremy's throat. "As long as you like it." He led me to the dining table, cleared his throat, and finally got to the point. "I have a social engagement on New Year's Eve. I was worried you'd be upset, so I prepared a gift in advance. I didn't expect you to find it on your own first. You're not angry, are you?" Seeing how cautious he looked, I almost found it funny. For the first 2 years of our marriage, we had been inseparable and sweet as honey. After all, we were childhood sweethearts, and Jeremy had never hidden his love for me. As for the 3rd year, even after discovering that I was a fake heiress, Jeremy still loved me. It was just that by then, my temper had already softened a lot, even though he had once held me tightly and sworn. We chose each other as family. That will never change. After 3 years, Jeremy Gonzalez treated me just as he always had. Only later, he cheated. The other woman was a young girl named Wendy. She was interning at the Gonzalez group, but was indeed still a college student, and he was a visiting professor at her university. I had actually met that girl before, when I represented the Gonzalez group at her school for a charity event supporting underprivileged students. She was one of the students we were sponsoring. Back then, she looked at me with an innocent smile and said, "Mrs. Gonzalez, you feel so kind to me, just like an older sister. It's just that my real sister wasn't as lucky as I am. She dropped out of school and went to work so I could go to college." At the time, I thought of my own identity, and of the hardships the real heiress had suffered. I only wanted to help her as much as possible. I even made an exception and let her add me on WeChat. Looking back now, I was just too stupid. That girl's feelings toward me were never gratitude. They were clearly provocation. The thought made my stomach churn with disgust, but I kept my smile, pretending to be annoyed. Humph. You're a big boss already, why do you still have social engagements on New Year's Eve? Who knows what you're really up to? Maybe you're out on a date with some young girl? Jeremy's pupils tightened for a split second, but he still smiled, cutting a piece of steak and feeding it to me. You're getting more ridiculous by the second. Isn't one young girl at home already enough for me? Be good. He reached out and patted my head. Your New Year's gift isn't finished yet. Hearing that, I nodded reluctantly. All right then. I knew that when Jeremy gave gifts, he was always generous. Why would I ever have a problem with money? Still, after all these years together, my heart felt a little heavy, so I have to spend New Year's Eve all alone. Pitiful and miserable. At that, Jeremy raised his hand and transferred an 8-digit sum to me. He turned sideways and pulled me into his arms, his eyes full of apology. I'm sorry. Go out and have fun with a friend. Once this busy period is over, I'll definitely spend the new year with you. All right then. Actually, maybe the new year doesn't really need you anymore. Chapter 3. I hadn't planned on going out on New Year's Eve, but suddenly, I remembered overhearing Jeremy on the phone a few days earlier. He seemed to mention some restaurant. It was a newly opened Michelin-starred place, one I'd brought up in front of him many times. At the time, I'd even thought he was planning a surprise for me. With that thought, I couldn't sit still anymore. I picked up my phone and called my best friend Sandra. Are you free? Let's go out for dinner. Even though we arrived early, the Michelin restaurant was still packed on New Year's Eve. The server politely asked, "May I have your reservation information?" I deliberately gave my own name first. The server looked apologetic. I'm sorry, miss. I don't see a reservation under your name. My eyes flicked to the side as I thought quickly. My husband made the reservation for me. Could you check under Mr. Jeremy's name? I gave her Jeremy's phone number. Sure enough, the server smiled immediately. Yes, of course, this way, please. As soon as the dishes were all served, I took photos and sent them to Jeremy right away. Then I called him. I just wanted to try my luck. But I didn't expect you to be so thoughtful, even arranging dinner for me. How did you know I wanted to eat here on New Year's Eve? I spoke cheerfully, fully expressing my delight. No wonder you told me to invite a friend out to eat. Thank you, honey. You're so good to me. After a strange moment of silence on the other end, the man laughed. I was just taking a chance too. You've mentioned this place a lot, and I was afraid you'd forget to make a reservation. I didn't expect it to actually come in handy. Did that sound forced? Honestly, not at all. The old Jeremy had always been like this, thinking of everything before I even did. But today, I knew this reservation wasn't meant for me. Not only because the menu included lamb, which I don't like, but also because the private investigator sent me photos. In them, the two of them were at a place not far from here. The man was on the phone with me, a stiff smile on his face, while the young girl beside him looked utterly disappointed. After hanging up, I put my phone away with complete satisfaction. Who cares who's disappointed? As long as I'm satisfied, that's all that matters. Besides, who said surprises have to come from a man? Giving one to myself works just fine. As for them, they can eat whatever they want. Half an hour later, I was bored, scrolling through my WeChat moments. By chance, I came across Wendy's post. What matters isn't what you eat, but who you eat with. Love is spiritual nourishment. The photo showed a hot pot. In the corner of the picture, seemingly by accident, was a pair of long, well-defined hands. I knew they were Jeremy's, because there's a tiny mole on his index finger joint, and that post was clearly meant for me to see. After all, she hadn't posted anything in months. I figured that after being cut off by me twice, she was finally getting restless. My finger moved slightly. I took a screenshot first, then casually liked the post. A minute later, I refreshed the page. The post was gone. Heh, so it really was just for me. That little girl is quite interesting. The more I looked at it, the funnier it seemed. Since she likes love so much, she can have it. After all, it's not worth much anyway. Chapter 4. After dinner, Sandra insisted on dragging me out for drinks. Have a few, she said. Jeremy can come pick you up later. I laughed. I'm afraid he doesn't have the time. My bestie looked puzzled. What's going on? Is he really that busy? I haven't heard of any big moves from the Gonzalez group lately. The company might not be making big moves. I replied calmly. But Jeremy's been making quite a few moves himself lately. Sandra froze. After processing what I said, her eyes went wide. Jeremy cheated? And you're just putting up with it? I crossed my legs, looking helpless. What choice do I have? My voice grew quieter and quieter. I don't want to cause any more trouble for my family. I forced a small smile. After all, you know it too, this so-called rich heiress I am is fake. Sandra was furious on my behalf. But your uncle and aunt wouldn't want you to suffer like this either. Suffer? At that thought, my smile finally stopped looking so forced. Suffer? How am I suffering? I thought my heart had already turned to concrete, completely numb, impossible to crack. But close to 11 o'clock, I stumbled upon a live stream while scrolling on my phone. A blogger was doing New Year's Eve street interviews. The interviewees were friends, families, couples. Everyone was talking about their beautiful hopes for the new year. I was so moved that tears streamed down my face, especially when my dear husband had his arm around a delicate-looking girl and said, "I hope she's happy every single year." At that moment, I was truly moved. He was even wearing the scarf I had knitted for him stitch by stitch last year. Back then, he'd laughed and said it was too long. Now, the extra length was wrapped snugly around Wendy's neck. The two of them looked just like a couple madly in love. The oversized scarf covered half their faces. A handsome man and a beautiful girl, what a perfect match. What a pity they couldn't be shown to the world. After feeling miserable for a brief moment, it suddenly hit me. Damn it, I forgot to screen record. Otherwise, that would have been an absolute trump card. Chapter 5. In a fit of rage, I got angry for about a second. Then I dragged my best friend to a bar and, in a dramatic splurge, dropped a fortune to book 8 male escorts. One smiled sweetly and called me pretty sister. One could sing, his voice was even better than what's his name's. One could dance, and those solid 8-pack abs were very abs. One fed me fruit. One gave me massages. One held a glass and leaned in to toast me. The whole thing was a perfectly coordinated hype squad. As for the remaining two, they were assigned to the proper and decent Sandra. By all rights, that night alone was decadent enough for me to live it up in full-on, money-burning excess. But who would have thought the real heiress, Linda, called me? Before I even had time to speak, a soul-melting pretty sister drifted straight into her ears. After a stretch of eerie silence, the other end exploded. "Tina, what are you doing?" I quietly hung up. Then I sent her my location, with a little note attached. "Come by yourself." Chapter 6. When Linda arrived, her jaw practically hit the floor. "You city people play this wild? Have you lost your mind? Where's your husband?" I smiled and waved at her, assigning the 2 most handsome guys to sit beside her. "Take a look, see which one you like. If none of them work, I can call more." Linda's face turned red as she waved her hands frantically. No, don't. We country folks aren't used to this kind of fun." That's right, Linda had lived in the countryside before. I'd heard life had been hard for her, and that she only made it out after getting into college. When I first learned she was coming back, I'd been nervous for days. I imagined countless scenarios, but I never expected that she'd look at me, standing there with my head lowered, and smile. "Fair and delicate," she said. "That's nice." I burst into tears on the spot. "I didn't mean to steal your parents. I'm willing to leave." Linda froze. After a long moment, she patted my shoulder and spoke earnestly. "It was never your fault. Linda really is an open-minded person. When our parents asked her opinion about changing her name, she just waved it off. Forget it. My foster parents were good to me. They're gone now, so there's no need to change my name. With a family this big, you wouldn't want someone like me, who doesn't understand anything, to inherit it anyway. That would just waste all the effort you put into raising Tina." The more open-hearted she was, the worse I felt. From that moment on, the peacock who used to love showing off, was spiritually neutered. I no longer had the face to rely on the family. All I could do was behave, and behave some more. But now, I don't want to behave anymore. Noticing that I seemed different from usual, Linda frowned and sat down beside me. Did you two argue? Why? Since you fought on a day like this, why didn't you go home? Mom and Dad were just talking about how you weren't there. The whole house felt empty. I drank in silence, stubbornly playing the brooding type. Linda didn't press further. She just clinked glasses with me, a rare gesture. Come home more often, she said softly. Mom and Dad really miss you. Chapter 7. When I woke up the next day, it was already noon. Linda and I were sprawled out flat on our backs on the carpet in her living room. I glanced at my phone and was shocked to see over 100 missed calls. And every single one of them was from the same person, Jeremy. I was a little surprised. What had gotten into him? Had things really gotten so ridiculous, like in those trashy novels, where he urgently needed me in the middle of the night to deliver a small balloon? While I was still confused, the phone rang again. I quickly answered. Jeremy's voice came through the receiver with a hint of anger. What are you doing? Why did you only just answer? Do you have any idea? It was rare to hear him speak in such a harsh tone. Thinking something serious must have happened, I hurriedly asked. What's wrong? What happened? Hearing my voice, Jeremy seemed to calm down a bit. Where are you? Why haven't you been answering your phone? Do you know how worried I was? Worried? I lowered my head and checked the time again. From 1 in the morning until now, 12 hours had passed. If something had really happened to me, I'd be cold by now. I couldn't help letting my voice turn a little colder. What exactly were you trying to reach me for? I'm at Linda's. My phone volume was accidentally turned off. I just woke up. Jeremy cautiously spoke again. Sorry, I couldn't make it back last night, so I wanted to call and see what you were doing, but you wouldn't answer no matter what. That's why I got anxious. Before I could respond, Jeremy asked again. You didn't go home early and just scroll on your phone again, did you? That's when I instantly understood. He wasn't afraid that I'd died. He was afraid I'd been at home scrolling and seen something I shouldn't have. Realizing that, I quietly let out a sigh of relief. Looks like he didn't know about my left and right embraces from last night. I put on an act and started complaining. Later last night, Linda dragged me out to celebrate. We played really late. I just woke up. Hearing that, Jeremy's voice regained its smile. So that's what happened. Did you have fun? More or less. Have you gone home already? Jeremy paused before answering slowly. I'm at the office. I'll come back tonight. I couldn't help laughing on my end of the call. President Gonzalez. Do your employees know that their big boss is still grinding away at the office on a statutory holiday? Jeremy sounded helpless. All right. Stop being upset. Since you're with Linda, go enjoy yourselves on the first day of the new year. I pretended to be annoyed. You're always just brushing me off like this. The man chuckled softly. All expenses, on me. I snorted, still sounding unhappy. Now you just know how to placate me with sweet talk. The next second, a message notification popped up on my phone. I looked at the string of zeros before the decimal point, longer than my hair, and finally couldn't keep my lips from curling upward. You're really just trying to shut me up. I'm hanging up. Bye. At that moment, I finally had it all figured out. Love, romance, all that nonsense. Since this husband was clearly unqualified, I might as well treat him like an ATM. Whoever wants love can have it. Just leave the money with me. After hanging up, the private investigator I'd hired proved to be extremely professional, sending me photos he'd taken yesterday, right on the first day of the new year. The clarity was on par with those top-tier fansite photographers. Any single shot could be used as promotional material for a short drama. What would you call it? Maybe something like The Domineering CEO and His Little Darling. Chapter 8. When Jeremy came back that night, I still wasn't asleep. He entered quietly, only to find me lying on the sofa. There was a hint of reproach in his eyes. Why are you still up? He didn't walk toward me, but that didn't stop me from rushing straight at him without any restraint. The moment I hugged him tightly, it was as if the wool coat had been soaked in perfume. The heavy scent crashed straight into my nose. Caught completely off guard, I sneezed at him several times in a row without mercy. Jeremy, looking a bit disheveled from my sneezes, pressed his lips together tightly, his expression far from pleasant. I looked at him quietly, just looked at him, without saying a word. Maybe it was because my eyes slowly reddened that his expression finally softened a little. He hurried to reach for me, but I took a step back. Tina, I cut off his speech with reddened eyes. Don't get too close to me. I forgot to tell you, I caught a bit of a cold today. I made it up smoothly, since I was already giving myself an excuse. I didn't mind handing him one as well. My words lodged straight in his throat. And for a moment, his expression was indescribably interesting. After a long pause, his gaze dropped to my bare feet, wrapping an arm around my waist. He lifted me up in one motion. Why didn't you say anything on the phone? You're sick and still messing around here instead of resting. I grinned shamelessly. I missed you. Jeremy sighed softly, one hand reaching up to press against my forehead. It's only been one day. How did you manage to wear yourself down like this? With reddened eyes, I leaned against him. Then, don't leave me again. His body stiffened. The next second, he carried me horizontally into the bedroom. From inside his coat, he took out a small box, then casually tossed the coat aside. When the exquisite vintage box was placed in front of me, honestly, whatever illness I had should have been cured on the spot. Just from the look of that vintage mini box, you could tell it was small on the outside, big on the inside. Sure enough, inside lay a pink diamond ring, at least 9 carats. An oval-cut diamond of that size was extremely rare. Jeremy chuckled and asked, "Do you like it? This is the real New Year's gift." Looking at the ring's distinctive design, my heart stirred slightly. This ring, Jeremy patted my head. That's right, it's his work. I know you understand what this ring means. I knew exactly who he meant. The foreign jewelry designer I admired most. He was indeed preparing a collaboration with the Gonzalez Group. But honestly, none of that was the point. The point was, his pieces were worth a fortune. As for meaning, very expensive was the best meaning it could possibly have. Seeing me frozen, the smile on Jeremy's face deepened with satisfaction. As his face drew closer and closer, my heart started pounding wildly. I might be pretending to be sick, but who knew whether he'd picked something up these past 2 days? What if he caught something and passed it on to me? Biting my lip tightly, I pushed him away at the very last second. You still have work, don't let me infect you. But you'll be alone. Jeremy tried to say more. My eyes darted around before I spoke again. How about, you buy me a bag instead? Jeremy froze when he saw my outstretched hand, then immediately laughed. Which one do you like? I'll have someone order it for you tomorrow. I turned away and waved at him. I'll send it to your phone. You should go get some sleep. Jeremy didn't insist further and turned to leave the master bedroom. Before going, he reminded me, if you need anything, call me, okay? That night, my cursed mouth was accurate for the first time in my life. My appendicitis flared up, and the pain was so intense I felt like I was dying. I called Jeremy, but all I got was the same automated message over and over. Hello. Please do not hang up. The number you have dialed is currently on another call. In the end, I clenched my teeth and dialed 120 myself. Only when the sound of the ambulance tore through the night did Jeremy stumble out of the study. Tina. I didn't look at him again. I only knew one thing, this time. I couldn't keep pretending to be stupid. When I woke up, it was already morning. Jeremy was asleep on the sofa beside me. As I looked at the phone he'd left on the bedside table, something stirred in my chest. I've never considered myself particularly magnanimous. No matter how much I love money, I'm not someone who can tolerate 2 women serving the same man. Gritting my teeth, I forced myself to sit up. The surgical wound hurt so badly that sweat broke out at my temples. But I didn't dare stop. I quickly grabbed his phone and slipped into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. When I saw a call in the log that lasted 4 full hours, I couldn't quite describe how I felt. I only knew that he'd once done the same thing with me. Back when we were still in school, my parents were away on a business trip, and there was an unexpected power outage at home. He stayed on the phone with me all night. The next day, he even teased me. You snore in your sleep, like a little pig. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't touched back then. But now, all I felt was that it was childish, even disgusting. I quickly opened all his social media apps and photographed every single chat record between him and Wendy, including the ones full of vague, ambiguous flirting. Most importantly, the transfer records. The only thing that gave me a bit of comfort was that the amounts weren't large. But the notes on those transfers were more than enough to prove he'd cheated. When I came out, Jeremy still hadn't woken up. I put the phone back where it was, just as I was about to get back into bed. The hospital room door was pushed open. Wendy's bright, smiling face appeared in front of me. She handed me the flowers she was holding. "Madam, I heard you were hospitalized, so I came to check on you." The smile on her face was no longer as restrained as before, it was openly triumphant. I knew exactly what she wanted to convey, but I couldn't be bothered to respond. Jeremy, however, heard the noise and sprang up from the sofa. He looked at Wendy with a sharp gaze. "Why are you here? Is all your work finished? Go back to the office." The moment he said that, Wendy's expression changed. She bit her lip tightly, clearly unwilling to accept it. But when their eyes met, she was the one who backed down. "I just wanted to come see Madam," she said softly. The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she sounded, her eyes even turning red. After all, Madam is hospitalized because the way Wendy looked, as if she were about to lay everything bare, made my brows knit tightly, until someone cut her off faster than I could. "Shut up, get out." Wendy left, glancing back again and again. Before she went, she even stuffed the flowers into my arms. Once the ward returned to silence, I looked at Jeremy, who seemed both embarrassed and irritated, with a confused expression. Deliberately playing dumb. What was that about? Why were you so harsh? Jeremy sat down by my bed and let out a long sigh. "I don't want anyone disturbing you." There really did seem to be a hint of guilt in his eyes as he looked at me. He held my hand tightly. "I'm sorry." We looked at each other. We both understood everything. But I still smiled at him. "What are you talking about? Appendicitis is my own fault for not watching what I eat. It's not on you." Jeremy reached out and pulled me into his arms. "Tina, you didn't used to be like this." Hearing that, I couldn't help rolling my eyes. Men really do have a certain kind of cheapness built into them. In the past, I liked making a fuss. If something like this happened, I'd definitely kick up a storm. He always said I had a spoiled rich girl temper. Later, he stopped saying it, and I stopped making a fuss. Now, he wasn't used to it anymore. Chapter 9. By the time I was discharged from the hospital, Wendy's internship had ended. She returned to campus to prepare for her final exams. After finding out, I dragged my best friend along to take a look, because I knew Jeremy would be there too. After all, the content of the phone call he took on the balcony last night had been accidentally picked up crystal clear by the security cameras. I never expected them to completely cut off contact anyway. On the phone, Jeremy didn't coax the person on the other end the way I'd imagined, but every line was laced with reassurance. What really piqued my curiosity, though, was the finals gift. Because as far as I knew, Wendy wasn't some pure, fragile little flower. On the contrary, she was very much a new-era independent woman who loved crafting a persona for herself. She often had phrases like poor but proud on the tip of her tongue. When the private investigator mentioned it to me earlier, he couldn't even suppress the laughter in his voice. They say the first gift President Gonzalez ever gave her was thrown straight into the trash. But later I checked, turns out that diamond bracelet was sold at a second-hand luxury store the very next day. Thinking of that, I got a little excited. After all, things like snatching what was meant for someone else, do it enough times, and it gets addictive. Chapter 10. I laughed so hard at the video on my phone that my stomach started to hurt. When Wendy looked at that shopping bag, her face was full of pride. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but in the end, Wendy angrily hurled the bag into a large trash bin nearby. She ran off, tears streaming down her face. "What I want isn't this." Jeremy got into the car with a cold expression and drove away. As for me, I hurried over and fished that bag out of the trash. Less than 10 minutes later, Wendy came back alone. When she frantically searched through the entire trash bin and still couldn't find that eye-catching orange bag, her expression was nothing short of spectacular. Meanwhile, Sandra and I stood not far away, enjoying the show, and, of course, recording the whole thing. I smiled as I put my phone away. Serves her right. Sandra looked at me like I was insane. "You're the legal wife. For God's sake. Why are you sneaking around like this? Just charge over there and confront them." That girl clearly knows how to play hard to get. If you keep this up, you're going to lose your husband. Husband? If I can't hold on to him anyway, I might as well grab more money instead. Chapter 11. I didn't expect Wendy to contact me on her own. In the cafe, with reddened eyes, she pointed at the necklace around my neck. Miss Tina, that should be mine. There's a W engraved on it, my name. I smiled indifferently. Yours? Wendy stiffened her neck. Yes, that was a New Year's gift from Professor Gonzalez to me. I replied calmly. But the husband is mine. I pointed at everything she was wearing. To be precise, everything on you belongs to me. Wendy looked as if she'd been humiliated. So what? Your husband doesn't love you anymore. You're just a housewife who only knows how to spend money. What right do you have to stand beside Professor Gonzalez? I couldn't be bothered to argue. Just tell me, why did you ask me out today? At that, Wendy suddenly calmed down, then put on a smug expression. She tossed a medical report onto the table in front of me. I'm pregnant. The pride on her face looked like she was sharing the joy of finally having a grandchild with her mother. I frowned and looked at her as if she were an idiot. Are you sure you're talking to the right person? First, I'm not your mom. Second, I'm not Professor Gonzalez's mom either. No matter how you look at it, this has nothing to do with me. Wendy glared at me through clenched teeth. Divorce him. Otherwise, I'll accuse him of rape. Since you people played with me, then let's all lose face together. I'm just a student, after all. But Jeremy? That's a different story. I found it strange. Spring hadn't even arrived yet, and these spring shoots were already sprouting one batch after another. I couldn't be bothered to waste any more words. I turned and walked away. Do whatever you want. If you need my help, just let me know. Chapter 12. When Jeremy received the divorce papers, his pupils practically shook. His voice was hoarse as he opened his mouth. Straight into accusations. You've lost your mind. How dare you? I impatiently dug at my ear. We grew up running around naked together. Spare me the domineering CEO novel routine. Your little girl is pregnant. I'm not interested in being the legal wife who plays second fiddle. Jeremy froze. She came to see you? When I tacitly confirmed it, he hurriedly tried to explain. You might not believe me, but I never touched her. Whether you touched her or not, I don't know. I said calmly. But you definitely crossed the line. I put the live stream replay I'd obtained from the blogger in front of him. Honestly, they look quite well matched. As long as you sign, I'll leave immediately. Consider it my way of completing your happy little family of 3. When Jeremy went crazy, he really went all in. He tore the divorce papers into shreds. I'm not divorcing you. Wendy is my problem. I'll deal with it. He was about to walk out, but stopped and turned back. His tone heavier. I never touched her. Not once. Look at that. When men get ruthless, they even lie to themselves. Chapter 13. Wendy lay low for a while. My best friend asked me, so you're really planning to get divorced? Wouldn't that just benefit that illegitimate child? I smiled. She's not pregnant. My friend clicked her tongue. And you believe whatever he says? My smile deepened. Of course. She's in a hurry to climb up, and I'm in a hurry to take the money and run, so I just helped her along a bit. That's right. The person who helped her get the fake medical report was sent to her by me. Personally. Because I didn't want to wait anymore. Someone had to tear this whole thing open. I have enough money now, more than enough. As long as I don't do anything stupid, it's enough to last me a lifetime. Divorce is simply a way of letting myself go. What I didn't expect was that Jeremy would pull strings for Wendy just to avoid divorcing me. He swore to me. Wendy is going abroad. She won't be coming back. Of course she won't be coming back. To placate Wendy, Jeremy got her an opportunity to work at the overseas headquarters of a major luxury jewelry brand. What was funny was that the portfolio submitted to that headquarters was mine. When I found out, I couldn't sit still. Who doesn't start out with dreams? It was just that this family needed a full-time wife. Even in a marriage of convenience, there are always checks and balances. I had no choice but to give up my dreams and become a rich wife. Later on, I kept taking private commissions in secret, but I could only stay behind the scenes. My designs never even carried my real name. Just a code. I always believed that life was about gains and losses. Now I see it clearly. Jeremy isn't worth it. That very night, I messaged my mentor from my study abroad days and told them everything. They replied quickly, telling me not to worry. Yes, I'll admit it. I'm addicted to cutting people off at the last second, even when it comes to work. My own design studio has been nearly ready for a long time now. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I can skip the Gonzalez Group entirely and negotiate cooperation directly with them. After all, many of the Gonzalez Group's previous collaborative works were created by me. Now that we're parting ways, everything that belongs to me, I'm taking it back. Chapter 14. When Wendy found out she wouldn't be going abroad after all, she completely lost it. She started live streaming online, accusing Jeremy of raping her and trying to use his power to sexually exploit her. The moment the live stream went up, it shot straight to the trending list. Jeremy and I were cursed out so badly by netizens that we didn't dare leave the house. The Gonzalez Group's PR team had always been excellent, but this time, it was clearly failing. Public opinion overwhelmingly sided with Wendy. I didn't escape either. People accused me of turning a blind eye and letting my husband prey on young girls. The Gonzalez Group's stock began to plunge day after day. Jeremy's father, furious to the point of cursing him as an unfilial son, called back the illegitimate child he'd been raising outside for years. He even issued a harsh ultimatum. If you can't fix this, then step aside. Jeremy was overwhelmed. He could have grown 100 mouths and still wouldn't have been able to explain himself. Because after I asked for a divorce, he deleted every single chat record between himself and Wendy. And at that moment, it was finally time for me to step in. I reprinted a divorce agreement and handed it to him. I have a way to help you. So, do you want to hand everything over to someone else? Or end things cleanly with me? Jeremy looked at me, his eyes reddening. Give it to me, I'll sign. The smile on my face deepened. The terms are different now. You might want to read them carefully. It was only a few days later, but what I demanded had essentially doubled. Jeremy clearly understood his situation. He didn't even look. He signed his name directly. Even if it all goes to you, he said hoarsely. It's still better than giving it to someone else. I knew exactly why. Jeremy despised his father's illegitimate son to the core. So from a young age, he worked relentlessly. Also that he could one day independently take control of the Gonzalez Group, to do right by his mother, who had been driven to her death by his father's mistress. Chapter 15. When I posted that brilliant video of Wendy on social media, public opinion flipped almost instantly. Holy hell, this woman can really act. Looks like nothing more than a cheating scumbag and his mistress. She went public because the breakup payoff wasn't high enough, right? Get lost already. Stop embarrassing poor students everywhere. I coordinated with the PR team and released all the evidence piece by piece. Wendy was flamed so badly that her account got banned. Even graduating became a problem. Later, I heard that wherever she went, people pointed and whispered about her. In the end, she simply returned to her hometown. Chapter 16. The cooling-off period finally ended, and the divorce certificate was successfully issued. Just as I turned to leave, Jeremy grabbed my arm. Can we talk now? I looked at him with open disdain. Talk about what? Jeremy let out a long sigh. There was never a physical relationship between me and her. I just thought, she was a bit like you used to be. She was smart and ambitious, so I always wanted to help her a little more. I never expected things to cross the line. Listening to that made my stomach churn. I slapped his hand away. How pathetically cliché. I'm not even dead yet, and you were already looking for a replacement? Jeremy, from today on, we never see each other again. We'd been childhood sweethearts for over 20 years. What we'd shared along the way might have been worth mourning, but anything broken was always meant to be thrown away in the end. And just like that, this fake heiress finally became a real member of the elite.